Prepare your ears, humans. Happy, Sad, Confused begins now.
The Slow Horses Love Fest continues now on Happy, Sad, Confused with a newcomer to the podcast, Dunkirk, fighting with my family, and now basically fighting with Gary Oldman's Jackson Lamb every day on Slow Horses. It's Jack Lowden on Happy, Sad, Confused. Welcome, Jack.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to meet you, man. I'm surprised we have people in our orbits that we all know. So this is a pleasure to finally get to know you a little bit today. A fan of your work and a big fan of this show. Congratulations, man.
Thank you. Thanks.
So first of all, I do feel like I'm cheating on some of your Scottish brethren. I do like, the Sam Hewins and the James McAvoys. Is there a fraternity? Is there a WhatsApp group on the young Scottish actors?
No, there isn't really. No, Scots are very individual. But I've met James. I've met James a couple of times. James is my hero. James, since I was young, we both trained at the same place. I think I've even tried to, like, when he was in a play when I was very young, when I was like 19 years old. He was in a play and I dropped a note off at his stage door to tell him that, but I've met him subsequently, and he's wonderful. And we are definitely going to collect it. Don't worry. We'll organise one. We'll put you on the WhatsApp group as an honorary Scot.
Oh, Mike, you didn't have to say that, but thank you for saying that. Did you confront James and say like you were bitter 15 years later for not responding to the note that you left him?
You know what? I can't remember if I did. I met him so long ago, but. If I bump into him again, I definitely will.
That's my recommendation. That's
Yeah.
why I have zero friends. I confront people when I have the slightest bit of, rage. Before we get to Slow Horses, which is fantastic, man. I was looking at your Instagram. How was Japan early this year? I went to Japan recently. Had you been before? Are you now a lover of Japan? I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, never been. Always wanted to go. Sort of. Like everybody else, I think when they go to Japan, become instantly obsessed with it, and did become instantly obsessed with it. I bought books to read about the entire history. I'm a history nut, so to read about the history of sort of modern Japan was really fascinating, and to be there, and the people are incredible, the food. Oh yeah, it was pretty special. Yeah.
Yeah, the juxtaposition of the most modern and the ancient history, the beautiful ancient history.
Yeah.
There's like no place like it.
I of course, was there, because I know that their whiskey is probably the only whiskey in the world that starts to sort of touch Scottish whiskey. So I was there with a sort of trying to hold my head up high, even though I hate whiskey.
Really? You do? Generally?
I cannot drink it. I cannot drink it. I'm obsessed with it in its stories and how it's made, and oh my God, I'm obsessed with it, but I just can't drink it. No.
And I bet you're the kind of person that, like, over the years you've probably tried to give it like 10 tries, because you're like, I should like this. It's my duty to like this, and you just, at this point in your life, you're like, nope, just not for me.
Yeah, it's one of the great shames, definitely, about being a Scot and sort of and not being able to sort of dive into that. So I have persevered. I've probably not persevered enough, and hopefully one day I will. Hopefully one day. But I'm a woeful disappointment at that. Yeah.
No, not at all. You're not a woeful disappointment in the acting realm. Look at that segue. Congratulations, man, on season 3 of Slow Horses. You must feel so good about this. I mean, obviously you're enjoying what you're doing, but also, I mean, the reception is like, this doesn't usually happen. I feel like the reviews are better by season 3, and they were great in season 1. And this must like affirm any trepidation you had. I don't know if you did have trepidation. Obviously, there's quite a pedigree to show. But when you sign on to something that has the capacity to go on many seasons, is there a little bit of like, this could take up a large portion of my life the next 5-10 years if it goes well?
I mean, I think with Slow Horses, I think there's not a great deal of sort of issues dealt with in Slow Horses in terms of what a lot of films and TV are doing brilliantly at the moment, and really what they normally do, almost in like a journalistic sense, is they really like open the lid on issues that are very sort of prevalent in the world today. Slow Horses definitely has it is definitely more in the sort of entertainment bracket. I think where its strength is that it shows something that is always considered this, fun or sexy or cool, and it is trying very, very, very hard to just pull all of that down by showing that there's real people at the centre of this world. So no, I've never had any real trepidation, but I just feel it's wonderful how well this show just continues to get more and more recognition. And deservedly so, in my opinion. And it is bizarre to see it on its third season, and it's sort of being received better than ever. But we're all sort of enormously happy and grateful for that. But we did work bloody hard as well.
Right. Well, it also speaks to the level of the high level that you guys are producing, like the people that come in and out of the show. I mean, it's like, oh wait, there's Catherine Wolverson, there's Chope, like all these people just like that have a ton going on in their own right. And dipping into this show just because it's a cool company of actors to be. It's great material to be a part of. That just must keep you like so energized to see like, wait, who's on the call sheet today? Oh, this is going to be another cool, interesting day. Yeah,
that's a great way of putting it. I mean, my first love in this industry is actors, and will always be actors. I just love working with them, watching them, rather than more so than writing or the finished product. I just like watching brilliant acting. And so when people that I consider brilliant decide to join us on this mental journey that is Slow Horses, it's the greatest compliment. And yeah, there are people in this one alone that it's quite incredible that they've joined us, and there's probably more to come. And so yeah, it's my favourite. It's my favourite bit. I just wish that River could be in a scene with every single one of them, because he's on he's mainly in just scenes on his own, getting really frustrated.
Right.
And so I like myself enough, but I would rather hang about with other people and act with other people. Acting with yourself is fun, but I'd rather work with some of these brilliant people. But it's amazing how it's been going. It really is.
You do get a fair amount, though, let's say it, to hang out with Mr. Gary Oldman. I mean, come on, this guy. So we're using time travel here. Later on today, I'm doing a big event with Gary, and I'm sure, like yourself, like myself, I grew up obsessed with this man. Like, if you love acting, film, this is the guy. This was my guy growing up. Are you the type to screen with somebody of that ilk? And how quickly did that dissipate, if it ever did?
It kind of got a bit jumpy there with the connection, but I think I know what you're asking. Is I still am in over working with Gary, and I'm still not sort of like, oh, who am I doing a scene with today? Gary, big deal. I'm still like, oh my God, I'm doing a scene with Gary. Jesus, okay. Because he's one of those actors that to actors of my generation and generations below me or above me, he's the gold standard. And so to get to work with him is mental. It's still mental, but it's wonderful because he and the likes of Kristen Scott Thomas or Jonathan Pryce, Sam West, these guys, they all come from, I've said this before, they all come from British theatre. All of them, and they have British theatre actors have the best way of working. They have they have a real sense of collective effort, and work ethic, that doesn't impinge on anybody else. It only encourages everybody else. And these huge superstars on set become just a company member. It's amazing how they manage to do it, and I'm hugely proud to come from that, or be have been a part of that at all, of that sort of scene, and you can see it with these guys, and they do not take themselves seriously, not one of them. It's really jarring and weird if ever I've worked with a British actor who does take him or herself seriously. They take the work. All of them take the work seriously. More serious than most, but taking themselves seriously just doesn't exist. And that's why it's a complete joy. All of them, remember, at the end of the day, we're making film or TV. for people to enjoy and devour and pick apart if they want to. But we're all incredibly privileged when we get to do it. So they're wonderful. So with Gary, it's no different. Getting to watch Gary develop this character is right in front of me is a huge privilege. I mean, he's pushing and prodding, and I watch him try things out. I watch him put things on and chuck them off, and go, nah, that didn't work. And he's got no pride in him about that kind of stuff. About us seeing that, his process of going, nah, that didn't work. Right, let's try this. You know, they're all wonderful.
The work is still the work, no matter what your resume is. You're starting from scratch on day one, and he knows that. And to hear him so grateful and excited, like this is arguably, it sounds like his favorite character, and he's done 10 of the most iconic characters ever. So that speaks volumes.
Oh my God, dude! There's times where over the years I can't believe he's ever asked me, like, you know, a take's finished and gone, "What do you think? Was that all right?" I'm like, what? Why are you asking me that? Why are you asking me that? You know, but that just speaks to his character. You know, it really does. Yeah.
Do you take a certain joy in, look, obviously your type of character, River is, you know, he fucks up. He's a fuck up from the start. And that must be kind of like give you a little freedom and joy, because there are different pressures with different jobs, but like this type of character, you know, the archetype, the James Bond character has to be perfect and every hair is in place and they can never mess up at all. But, you know, that's hard in and of itself. We know Daniel Craig did it very well, but like there's something very, juicy, I would imagine, about playing a truly flawed take on that guy.
Yeah. I mean, that was the whole draw for me when I was first sent the scripts. I was like, yeah, I mean, every single character that I play or am allowed to play, the first thing I do is just try and find the flaw. I find the flaw as quick as possible, because I am completely and utterly flawed, and that gives me just like it gives River, that gives me oxygen. It gives me reasons to want to get better or whatever. So River though has a slight arrogance that he can't quite accept it. He's not a complete idiot. I think he knows when he's fucked up, but that's what makes it interesting, that you're not just like walking about playing this guy who's like a deeply flawed guy. He hates that he's deeply flawed. Right. And most of the flaws are not his fault, they're someone else's fault. Which makes the comedy very easy, so to speak. So yeah, he's a wonderful character to play, because on paper this guy should be, you know, utterly brilliant and sexy and suave. I don't think I still think he's sexy and suave, but in a very sort of by accident kind of way. If that's what you're into,
right?
Yeah.
Jack can't help but bring some measure of sexy and suave to any role. You can only tamp it down so much, sir.
Yeah, there's only so much. Yeah, exactly. There's only so much one man can do.
There's going to always be a baseline. I know. I talked to so many actors over the years, and I apologize in advance, because I know when I mention the words James and Bond to an actor, they just like bristle, and it's just like, oh, I don't know how to react. But I will say, what a high compliment to hear someone like Sam Neill say Jack Lowden would make a great Bond. Have you heard of that?
Sam Neill said that?
Yeah.
He's lovely. Sam. Yeah, I did a film with Sam, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. I loved that guy. He's wonderful. Well, that's nice of him to say that. That's nice of him to say that. Was she not? And
as we know, he was up for Bond way back when.
Yeah, he would have made a great one. He could be. I mean, I'd vote for him now, to be honest.
Wait, this is not. No, you don't give your job away to somebody else. No. I'm trying to help you, man.
No, I think Sam.
What's been? As I said, I've been a fan of your work throughout. Fighting with My Family, Dunkirk, obviously. What's been? I'm curious, like the most intense kind of audition process for you, like the one that you felt like was a lot riding on it over your career, the one that you really felt invested in it, and hopefully it turned out well.
I mean, Dunkirk was a quite daunting audition process because of who the person was. Stood opposite you essentially in Chris Nolan, and you know, like I've said before with Chris is involved in absolutely and utterly everything, And I remember being in a tiny room with him that I'd been in thousands of times before, trying to get jobs and auditioning, and I'm in this room with one of the greatest living directors who's sort of running this audition thing like it's, you know, a couple of guys, someone trying out for an Amdram part. You know, there was no big fanfare or anything, there wasn't hundreds of people in the room, it was just me and Chris. So that was kind of daunting for sure, but that was interesting. I mean, fighting with my family was great because it was the first time that I realised, I wanted that part so bad. So that was at the time where sort of self-tapes were beginning to be what actors do now because of the way the world's working, which I think is a wonderful thing, by the way, self-tapes for actors, particularly actors that, you know, we can live wherever now, which is quite nice. But I was so excited about that one, and I got the usual scenes and the sides, you know, can you put this on tape? That I chose not to do that, and I just turned the camera on and I improv'd as if I was the guy, sending in an audition tape. It's sort of a little bit sort of Inception, not to bring Nolan up again, but it was very odd. And I remember I sent it and I was like, this is either going to really piss people off or it's going to be genius. And when I got a recall to go and meet Stephen Merchant, that was the first thing he said was, when we pressed play on your tape, I did think, what in flying fuck is going on here? But something worked on it. So yeah.
You gotta stand out from the crowd somehow. They probably stood up when they saw that.
Yeah. No, that was so that really started my ethos in how I go about doing anything like that now, you know.
Did you, speaking of Nolan, did you Barbenheimer? Obviously you have connections to Chris, you have some indirect connections to Greta. I would imagine there's a lot of love for the Barbenheimer.
There was a lot of love for Barbenheimer, big time. I've seen Cillian since, actually, and so, you know, getting to see him sort of, you know, I adore, again, he's another gold standard actor. I adore Cillian because he's just so unassuming and so humble, and such just a normal actor, but with prolific talents. And I saw him recently and talked about it, and it was interesting to see someone like that who is at that point in probably one of the biggest films in the world. You know, it was really wonderful to see him and hear about it and whatever, and and Barbie as well was really quite something special to see. And a personal shout out for me about Barbie, an actor who I absolutely and utterly adore, and I think almost stole the film, was Connor Swindells. Utterly brilliant. I've adored him in everything that he's in. I've contacted him whenever I've watched him and stuff, just because I just love him. He's such my kind of actor as well. But when I didn't know he was in that, and then when we watched it, he almost stole the film for me. He was wonderful, but loved it.
That's the thing about that film is like the 12th lead of that film pops like in every corner of every frame. There's oh wait, that person's here, like crazy.
Mad. It was mad.
We'll get you in as a Ken in the sequel. We'll put a good word in.
I'd love that. I would love that. The most sort of frustrated Ken. Yeah.
That's right. Self-doubting, sad Ken. Congratulations, man, on season 3 of Slow Horses. I'm surprised it's taken us this long to get to know each other a bit. Hopefully next time in person. Enjoy the press tour, and hopefully by the time this has been recorded, me and Gary Oldman are besties too, so we can all hang out.
I'm sure you will be.
Don't jinx me. Thanks, man. Please give my best, by the way, to Saoirse. It's been a long time, and I will. Positively adore her.
Of course.
Thank you.
Of course.
All right.
Thanks,
buddy.
And so ends another edition of Happy, Sad, Confused. Remember to review, rate, and subscribe to this show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm a big podcast person. I'm Daisy Ridley, and I definitely wasn't pressured to do this by Josh.